Kim Petras has done it again. She has dropped yet another debut album. Okay, jokes aside, she's finally back with Detour, which kind of serves as a reintroduction to Kim in many ways after a disastrous fallout with her former label, Republic Records. Detour is the record that I feel Kim was always born to make. It is experimental, bold, and honest pop. You guys know the drill. I will give a brief recap and then my overall take on it before going track by track and assigning a score. A quick return to indie pop roots. It actually has been 3 years since I last covered Kim Petras. She had 2 projects, the first being her label debut Feed the Beast, which was a Frankenstein record that had some solid tracks but no real direction. The second was actually what would and should have been her debut, Problematique, a record that was noted by many to be a missed opportunity shelved by a label that just didn't know what to do with this pop star. Neither of these projects capitalized off Petras's momentum, being the first openly trans woman to win Best Pop Duo at the Grammys and even top the charts with that Sam Smith collaboration on Holy. Neither of the projects generated a real hit or helped push the needle on Kim becoming more than just a niche artist for the gays and girls. Kim has kept busy. She judged Drag Race, toured her album, released a sequel EP, Slut Pop Miami, and even featured on a few tracks, one being an excellent Sophie track, the others being a Chainsmoker collab that was cute, and a feature on Katy Perry's Flop 143. Eventually, Kim re-emerged sometime last year via Tumblr to hint at new music. She dropped Polo in June. The track was co-produced with Margot XS, who has worked on Zara Larson's Midnight Sun, and signaled a shift towards a dirtier, fresher sound. She would also release Freak It, produced by Frost Sisters, who'd go on to produce much of this final record along with XS. Kim kept dropping new music, including I Like Your Look in October of that year. That track was co-written by hitmaker Madison Love and is a bop. The record was completed sometime by November as she held a listening party in Paris. However, her label, Republic, would attempt to shelve the record for being too out there and not radio-friendly at all. Petras would go on to publicly ask to leave Republic after 5 years because they refused to give her a date, and they wouldn't even pay the collaborators on this album. Going rogue, Petras would release a 4-week project pre-tour. It is an EP of raw tracks that are not on Detour, but rather akin to deluxe tracks to a project that hadn't been released yet. I think pre-tour was instrumental to building hype for the project. It was received well even by those who'd lost interest in Kim like myself. Petras would officially leave Republic by April, where she was finally allowed to release Need for Speed, and a follow-up single, Jeep, in May. Despite lacking a label, she managed to even sing the track on Fallon, which is interesting. This album was properly announced on the 21st with a cover, and it dropped on the 29th. Recap aside, here are my overall thoughts. Detour is a true return to form for Kim in my opinion. I'll be transparent, she has not been on my radar for quite a bit, but she is officially back, bunheads. I haven't been this hooked on her since maybe Era 1, where every track was pop perfection. This was a skipless record to me. It is tightly trimmed to 13 tracks and is just under 37 minutes. And despite offering variety throughout, everything felt cohesive in a way that I have not seen from Kim since the Turn Off the Light mixtape. Kim, I think, has found this new signature sound with Frost Children and Margot XS that honors those mid-2000s sounds that she clearly grew up on while forging something that really plays to her vocal talents. You can clock the time period and the artists that inspired Kim and company, but nothing really feels derivative or trite. Even Jeep, a curveball pseudo-ballad assisted by porches that veers into country and almost folk at times, it feels distinctly like it is a Kim track. I praised her ability a long time ago to really transform her voice to fit each and every production seamlessly, and the producers on this album do not take that for granted. The single choices thus far are really the strongest tracks. I Like Your Look is an absolute classic for me. I think it is a certified girly pop pre-game bop. Need for Speed really served as a stark and needed reminder that Petras knows her way around hooks. Not to say that the remaining 8 tracks are lacking, 101 really did register as a career highlight for me. Much like the album itself, it's Kim dialed up to 11 and Unleashed. There is a swagger to it as she declares herself as a one of one. There are so many switch-ups in the song, including a euphoric closing minute that I think is club heaven. I think it is the mega evolution of what she was trying to do on Slut Pop. Basketball features work from the late and great Sophie, which had me both wistful and shaking my ass at the same time. Its follow-up track, Bitch Ball Out, felt like a loving tribute and outro to that track. Another killer standout that I'm keeping on my rotation is DTLA, which as a former resident of the area is a grungy tribute that captures the chaotic GTA energy of its namesake. The timing of this album couldn't be any better. It's a record that screams summer to me. It comes on the heels of another pop princess's career best record. I feel like this is a wonderful compliment to Slater's Worst Girl in America, which is a high compliment. Anyone who enjoyed that record will love this one's raw honesty and unwillingness to yield to trend. I honestly can see Kim rebuilding her base of listeners with this one through touring this record. It's one that will make for a wonderful set list and a show. This album could honestly be a mini brat moment for her if she plays it smart. I think it's great that artists are finally playing to their strengths instead of trying to get TikTok sounds. One of my chief complaints on Feed the Beast was a lack of personality. Here on Detour, we get so much dimension from Kim. On Brutalist, she recounts her childhood in Germany, finding admiration in brutalist architecture with her father, in a very clever but heartbreaking metaphor about her own transition. On Jeep, she gets to flex her pen with these descriptive lyrics that paint together a flawed but sweet love affair. There's a lot of substance on this album that I feel was lacking on her later work with Republic. My sole complaint is the omission of pop sound. It is a track off pre-tour that I feel is a really good thesis statement for what this record is really about. Kim has always been someone that I've rooted for. Early on, there was such a hunger to succeed and become a mainstream name, and unfortunately that led to a holding period where the label and the music had dulled what made her so special to begin with. Detour captures that ambition, but with the experimental, curious side of her that made us cheer her on at the beginning. Rather than treat a breakup with a label as an apocalypse, I think Kim is really bold on here, taking back her autonomy as an artist. I think she's owning being indie so well, and this is the album that we always knew she could make. Even if it did take nearly a decade to get there, I think the wait is worth it. And now my track by track. Detour is the title track. It is a brash introduction to the record with chopped vocalizations and a thumping bass line that throws you into her vision immediately. She breaks the fourth wall with that line, beginning of the end. The track is a double entendre about challenging a lover to be reckless while also alluding to leaving her label with the throw away your life tonight line. I think the track itself takes a detour or shift midway, and I think it's a great palate cleanser. DTLA, instant banger. This track is a tribute to downtown Los Angeles, where I think she's an active resident of, who's running over bitches like GTA. There's a clever reference to another banger on this record, 101. Each verse paints together this reckless life of behavior that's just insane, hot looks, a neck being full of ice, and hot lovers, but the outro has this dreamy shift where she breaks the illusion, implying a hidden sadness with tears falling from her high-rise. I Like Your Look is a sugary sweet bubblegum pop production about looking fab and knowing it for a fact. Kim has stated that it's about dressing up for someone who's not interested in you but trying to win them over with fashion, which also betrays a melancholy where she yearns for someone that is already taken by someone else, which is a cute contrast. Sonically, it feels like a crunchier, long-lost deep cut from Carly Rae Jepsen's debut Kiss, or like an Owl City track that has been done up with Kim's edge. Check It is a short and sweet track that mostly is just the phrase check it over and over again. It's almost hypnotic and fleeting, like a mini Unlock It moment. The track's lyrics flex about what she's most proud of, from her jeans to her je ne sais quoi, to the boys on her phone, to the face that she makes. A little shout out to Jesus is sweet. It's about living life to the max. Polo in retrospect is actually the perfect introduction to this album's sound. It is loud, it is clanging, it initially sounds like a classic sex bop, but is actually a cutting track about the industry. They're trying to cut her out of the Polo Lounge, which is a place where they discuss business affairs. There's puns about Ralph Lauren, and a very dark line about being branded like a horse with the slap the logo on my ass line. Thematically, it does slot into the record rather effortlessly. Brutalist, as discussed earlier, is probably her most personal track to date. In an interview, she discussed it being inspired by going on trips around Germany, trying to find someone who'd give her hormone therapy when she was very young. Her father would lament that some of these brutalist buildings were torn down for lame modern buildings, and she'd go on to relay that metaphor to how people talk about trans artists ruining their God-given bodies. Throughout the song, she compares her identity to the brutalist building that people want to tear down for something bland that's not her authentic self, and I think it's a really touching track that showcases her depth. Need for Speed is a throwback that sounds in line with a classic long-lost 2000s Timbaland sort of production. It's about her fast-paced life as a pop star and then being driven off the road by her psychotic label. A lot of people underrate how great that pre-chorus is at setting up that chorus. I think it's just as infectious as the actual lines itself. I love the line, "She needs to freak it now because she's being chased." Verse 2 has her singing about how she's got to leave her label, they want her money, and they are willing to silence her. It almost sounds like a panic attack that you can dance to. I just feel like it's one of the most melodically dynamic sounding tracks on this record. It sounds like a car chase put into a pop song. Jeep is an utter joy to listen to. For one, it's different from the rest of the tracks. I think there's a really cute acoustic element that lets you relish Kim's tone and her voice. I just really love the picturesque lyrics that put together this painting of a nostalgic yearning. The chorus reveals so much about this relationship. His friends and his mama think that she's bad for him, but they have history and they're always doomed to repeat that history. I think the bridge is perfect. Some people say it's corny, but it's like a diary entry about listening to anything with someone, sex in the gas station, doing middle American shit, and drinking knowing that you're just kicking the can around. There's like a hopeful hopelessness to it. 101 is a demonstration of Kim's ability to just drop an utter serve. I think that this track shifts around no less than twice, and each recalibration just keeps you on the toes. The lyrics are straight up just self-aggrandizing, but there's a confidence that just never bends. The Frost Children bitch tag lets you know who's producing. I think the last minute is gonna gag at every Pride Night party that plays this around the world. I would say save this track. Even if you don't like him, this track is gonna be song of the summer for some of y'all. Basketball is a Sophie production that many were ready to call lost media because it was never going to be released, but it's great to have it now. The track knows that the production should be centered as a star, but Kim sings over it with lyrics detailing this complicated love where she's shooting her shot, but she never seems to score all the time. The same goes for the other half of the relationship, and that production captures that frustration and really makes me mourn what we lost with Sophie. It still managed to sound extremely fresh and novel despite being made in 2019. Bitch Ball Out is another anthem about being someone who just has the it factor. Someone might dismiss this as filler, but I think it's the aftermath of basketball. She's looking for a rebound after that fell apart, and she's showing off with pop collars, Birkins, trying to score again. Korea is underrated. I think it's a clever wordplay track. The country Korea is a homophone for the word career. In one interpretation, you could see her as just singing about missing the country or someone in that country, or you could see it as her singing about the pain that she feels chasing her career and seeing that she's fallen behind or not hitting what she wants to get. The album closes on Freak It, which is a very up-tempo way to end this record. This track is an electronic explosion celebrating sex and losing control. I was confused initially as to why it was placed at the end, but it does make sense that even after all the heartache and anxiety, Kim is just gonna end things by doing what she does best and making a bop. Overall, Detour is an excellent album. It is one that is worthy of being her true in-canon debut record, if people want to call it that. It is Kim unshackled by the system that she wanted to be a part of, but just never really got her. In some ways, I think it's kind of what Pop 2 was for Charlie in a sense. It's a project that really lays all the cards on the table. We get to see all the potential, and it really does feel like a decisive step forward towards better things. And for that reason, I am giving it an 8.6 out of 10. And that's a wrap. Thanks guys for tuning in to this quick review of Kim Petras' Detour. It is so fun to finally cover an artist that I started out this channel covering. So let me know below what you guys thought about the album, what your favorite tracks were, how you feel about Kim. A quick shout out to my members. Thank you so much for supporting my channel and taking that extra step. A shout out to my subscribers. I love all of you guys. A shout out to my Substack. I will never stop plugging this thing. Go follow it, guys, and I hope to see you next video.